Welcome back. Here we have everything we need to lace up our wheel. Obviously we have a rim, we have a hub. With these hubs we have two sets of spokes. We have spokes for the inner rim. You can see there the slightly shallow angle because it's going to go that way. We have the spokes that are going to go on the outer, which have this tighter angle because they're going to go that way. We have 36 nipples. Actually, my supplier always sends one extra, which is nice because that's just the size of thing that shoots out of your hand and disappears under the bench. And very important with stainless steel spokes and nipples, a lubricant. Again, my supplier here in the States, Buchanan's, always put a little bottle of this nice viscous lubricant in. Certainly with stainless steel spokes, because it's similar metal and you get galling, you can honestly get these so that the nipples will go halfway on and then they won't come on or come off if you haven't lubricated them. So basically what I always do is set my nipples out in 4 rows, either 4 rows of 9 for this rim or 4 rows of 10 for a British rim, and then I know where I'm working. So I've got one set of inner spokes, second set of inners, first set of outers, second set of outers, and I know exactly what's happening. And then I go along and I just put a drop of oil in each one and just let that run down and set in. So I'll put it in the rest of these and then I'll zoom in and show you the actual lacing. Some people like to put all of the spokes in straight away. I personally don't, because to be quite honest, having 36 or 40 spokes flopping around all at once is a bit of a handful. It's bad enough having just half of them, the inners, in. So we start with the inners. Obviously go that way with an inner. And from our little set of notes, we know that the inners go to the left. So they're going to flop around, but we'll do our best with them. So you go alternate holes. I've never done this before whilst filming, so and then we come round and one hole, there it is. Now these go to the left, and from our notes you may remember we checked on the back flange there and we found that the inners on that side are one off to the left of this one. So these inners are going to go in there and go this way. So there's what I was talking about. You see, you could have put it in that one and then you'd be completely out of pattern. So now we do this side. As you can see, it's already getting to be quite a handful, so to have all of the spokes in there is a little too much of a mess on. There's the last one. When I've got the rim on these, I'll show you why we do the inners first. So we lay it down and we have these here going to the left. As they come around to the bottom, of course, they go to the right. Make sure they're all nice. There's one more that needs to go around that way. And then all of these will point in the opposite direction. Right, so now I'm going to move the camera angle slightly so you can see what we're going to do with the rim. Well, here's our first inner spoke. It's going to the left and it's going down to the rim. So you remember about the 4 different placements of the drilled holes in here? So if we're going left and down, the hole we want should be pointing right and up. So there it is. I don't know if you can see this. There's the dimple. You can see the hole is on this side of the center line, and also it's pointing this way. So it's pointing exactly nicely to meet this spoke. So we'll pop that in there. And we put out first our little soldiers onto there. Just thread a few threads on just to hold it. Now then, now we're going to go around 1, 2, 3, and here's the 4th one. Hopefully you can see it. There's the 4th one. 1, 2, 3, 4, and again it's pointing up and it's pointing back. So we take our next left-hand spoke, move the hub over a little, and in that goes. And move around so I can be doing these without blocking your view. Again, just a few threads. Then the next one, I'll get those out of the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there it is. Of course you can't find it when you want it. There it is. And now we just keep moving round. As we go. As you can see, it's fiddly. It gets a little less awkward the more spokes you put in. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, 4. One, two, three, 4. Two, three, 4. And the last nipple from the row, so you know you should be on your last spoke, which we are. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. At times you'll think that these are never going to go, I've done something wrong, and then you'll just jiggle it round a fraction and in they'll go. So there we have our inners on this side. pointing to the left. So now we want these other inners pointing to the right. As I say, as it moves around, they start to point in the opposite direction. They are little buggers. Alright, there they go, all pointing the right way. So now then, with this one, we're pointing up and we're pointing to the right. So what we need is a hole which is pointing left and pointing to that side. And there it is. And as you see, the spoke points right at it. So we'll start our second row. You can flip the wheel over if you like to do this, but one way is as good as another. And there we go. And we start on our second row. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. And as you can see, the spokes are starting to point right at the holes. So you know you're doing things the proper way. Generally, if you've done it wrong, you don't find out until you're putting in the last row of outers. And then you get really miffed because you've got to take the whole thing apart to start putting things right. 1, 2, well, 1, 2, 3. See, I almost put it in the wrong one there talking to you. 4. One, two, three, 4. Come on lad, get in there. Now people mentioned about what they call fender washers here being called penny washers at home, which I'd forgotten, but then there's a lot I've forgotten. My mother, who was from Hartlepool, so she's from County Durham, we don't really talk about that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Used to have a phrase when she was doing something like this. She'd say, "Get in there, Morton." I have no idea who Morton is. I have no idea if it's just a Hartlepool phrase, so there you go. There's something worthy of a comment. Anybody else know that phrase? 1, 2, well, 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. And there we go. It's pointing right at it, and it's the last nipple in our row. I hope you haven't got one of these kiddie filters on your computer, or me talking about nipples, they might not be showing this. So there we are, nice and loose, in. And you can see the innards facing us are going to the left. It's one hole to the left hand side and pointing right on the other side. Now let me just check if you can see the hub and the rim, and I will show you why to put in the inners first. There you go. Now then, if we tried to put an inner in now, we couldn't do it. But the outers, of course, you have all that room to play with, so you can put the outers in easily. So that's why we do the inners first, if you're only going to do one set of spokes instead of trying to fit them all in together. So now we'll start putting in our outer spokes. Now, let's find the right hole. So here, because it's an outer, it's going to the right. So look at that, falls right to the hole. This hole is pointing left and it's pointing to this side of the rim. So isn't that miraculous? Michael gets it right. Put that in your diaries. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's that right hole again. Of course, we will need a spork. Where's that going? 1, 2, 3, 4. Just struck me, I moved the camera, didn't I? So you probably can't see this. Oh, look at that. You're looking at absolutely nothing. My apologies for that, people. I will give myself a sound thrashing off camera. So here we go. Inner spork. 1, 2, 3, 4. Point in the right way. One, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4. See, I'm getting cocky now, I'm not even counting the dimples. Because by this time, the spork should just point quite naturally at the dimple that they're due to go into. If they don't, you've gone wrong somewhere, don't blame me. And here's the last one on this side, hopefully, because I've run out of nipples. Yes. So we flip this over. See my nice shiny hub? Make sure I'm still looking at the right thing. There we go. And hopefully, when we may put this one in the last available hole, it should point at the last available hole in the rim, and by God it does. So you see, I didn't have to take them all back out, erase that piece of film and pretend I never did it wrong. Now for those eagle-eyed amongst you, you'll have noticed that the inside of this rim is nice and shiny, but the outside isn't. I don't know if you've looked at any other wheel lacing and truing videos, but they always have nice new hubs and rims, so the edges are perfect. Now this rim was a absolutely perfect rim, but it had got a bit dull and it had a coating on it, so I've actually had to sand it before I polished it. Now when I show you truing with the dial gauge, we're looking at thousandths of an inch. So if you've been, as I have, out here sanding, you've probably made this rim, although it's perfectly round, little hills and valleys, and your pointer will go mad and you'll think, why can't I get this true? And it's because the edge of the rim isn't true, or isn't flat. So any of you that are just changing spokes and using your original rim, bear that in mind. Your rim won't be perfect, so I'm going to actually show you two different ways to true it. One is, if you like, the get in there, Morton. Come on. One is, as I was saying, is the actual traditional way of doing it. Come on. Maybe I should cut this bit out of the video. There it goes. One is the traditional way with either a pointer or a dial gauge, and the other is a little bit of a cheating way for those of us who are wheel truing deficient. Come on. See, I maybe tighten these up all a little bit too much. Let's pop the rest of them in so that they're ready. How many have we got? Two more. See, we're getting close to the end, so a fraction on each spoke is going to count. Oh, we actually had one of these come out. I wondered where that nipple came from. There we go. Come on, you little brute. Get in there. Probably off camera there, was I, folks? No. That's life. You can't have everything right. And then it suddenly moves, you see, and the damn thing goes straight in. Wheels and tyres I dislike. Look at that. Can you see now? You joggle it. I don't know if you can see that. There must be a quarter of an inch of space. These things are sent to try us. Okay, there we go. There's our wheel laced up. You can see we're crossing two spokes, so that pattern is right. The inners are going to the left. Everything as per our diagram. What we're going to do now is I'll just run around and tighten these up by hand a little, and then we'll set it up in the stand and we'll true it up, as I say, a couple of different methods just for you to choose from, whichever one you're most capable at. So let me finish just tightening these. All I'm going to do is tighten them up finger tight, and basically all the spokes, if the spokes are well made, the amount of thread on them is going to be the same on every one. The spokes are all going to be the same type. So if you just tighten it down the same amount on each one, you know you've pulled the rim in roughly in the right position with regard to the hub. So let me do that and stand it in the stand, and then we'll go from there. Here you have the wheel in the truing stand. Now you can go from everything from purchased truing stands with all sorts of dials and things built into them, to bits of wood, all sorts of things. All you've got to do is make sure, if you're building your own, that it's all nice and square and the wheel's in level and so on. As you can see, mine is made from an old swinging arm. I was at a friend's shop one day and he was doing a wheel, And that's what he was using, swinging arm just in the vise. So I thought, I've got a couple of them laid about, I'll just fasten one into a stand, into a base, and make this. So it works perfectly well. Now, what you'll also need is either a pointer, which you can fasten onto here somehow, or if you want to get really technical, you can use a dial gauge. This one has a magnetic base, so you just turn it on, and there it is. You're going to see we're all over the place at the minute. Now, all I've done so far is tighten the nipples up finger tight. It's still loose, but it's being held in place. Now, I'm never sure whether you're supposed to do the up and down run out first or the side to side run out, but I always do the side to side because I find if you get that right, and if you've been just tightening the spokes about the same amount each one, you're going to be pretty close when you get to that. When I talk about close, don't forget, this is a trials wheel. We are not going to be doing 200 miles an hour round tight bends on this and putting our life on the line for how well the wheel works. The trials bikes here I build, I have a gear ratio for first of about 40:1. So in a section when you're trickling along at 1,000 revs, something like that, the back wheel's actually only turning at 25 revs per minute. So the fact that it's a little bit out isn't going to bother it. And when you think about it, this is going to have rim locks on it, or what we used to call them, security bolts. So it's going to be completely out of balance anyway. So a little bit here and there isn't going to matter that much. If I can get it within a few thous up and down and side to side for a trials wheel, I'm really happy, because the first time you run into something, or you do a ledge or a big log or something like that, particularly the front wheel, you're going to knock it out a little bit. It's not going to bother the way you ride, and it's certainly not going to be dangerous. So don't get too tied up into trying to get a trials wheel absolutely right. Plus, as I said, if you're using a dial gauge and you're using an older rim, it's going to be a little bumpy to start with. So let's get into exactly how we're going to get this to go. I'll give it a spin, and just from finger tight, it's at least it's not, I mean, you've seen them going like this, it's not too bad. We're going to be able to get this done reasonably well. So as I say, I'm going to show you two different methods. One of the methods has two variations, but basically it's two different methods. As I mentioned, I'm not brilliant at this, I'll be honest. I used to have a chap at home that used to do them, and he would just spin it, stop it, tighten, spin, top, tighten, and 5 minutes, and the wheel was true to a couple of thousands. It was amazing. I'm not that good, so I had to come up with another method. So the principle of truing a wheel is really simple. Basically, all that happens is you move the wheel so you can find out whether it's to the right or to the left, and then let's say it's too far to the right. Because you need to move to this side, what you do is you slacken the spokes on the right so that they can move a little bit, and you tighten the spokes on the left to pull it over. It's as simple as that. Same top to bottom. If it's too far down at the bottom, then obviously you need to pull the rim up. So you slacken some top spokes so it's got room to move, and you tighten some bottom spokes and pull it up. What could be easier, you think? Well, I know all the rules of snooker, but I'm still only a mediocre player. Some people, as I say, can just do this nicely, some can't. So all this blathering on is just to say that although wheel building isn't magic, it is one of those things that even if you know how to do it, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be any good at it, or ever be any good at it. Which is why I came up with my second method of doing this. So, we're going to turn this round a little bit. Now, we've done all our spoke pattern and everything, but you'll remember the other thing we noted was the offset of the hub to the rim. Now on this one, on our little note, it says there was no offset, it was 0. And turn this around again, I really don't know if you'll be able to see this. I'll try and zoom it in the actual video. But here, we've actually got a gap here which we shouldn't have. And at the bottom, at the bottom we're not touching the rim, so that's why we've got that little wobble. Now the two variations are a variation on using the dial gauge. You put your dial gauge on, then when you spin the wheel you can see whether it's going one way or the other way, and by adjusting the spokes, as I mentioned, you can move it over backwards and forwards, or you could just have a fixed pointer and do this. But this, using this method, as I say, it's the traditional method, and this is the one that requires a bit of skill. So I got to thinking about it and I thought to myself, what am I actually trying to achieve here? And what you're trying to achieve is to have the plane of the rim in the same plane as the hub. In other words, that and that, if you drew two lines, should be parallel. So I thought to myself, alright, I've got to measure an offset. So what I did, and what I will show you now, is I marked the rim in 4 places. 1, 4 quarters. 2, 3, and 4. And all we're going to do is measure the offset and adjust the spokes at each of those 4 places so that we have the correct offset. And unless the rim is actually like this, as long as that rim is flat, if we have got these 4 quarters exactly right, then it has to be true. And we'll use the pointer to check it. But it's so much, to me, it's so much easier to do. All I'm going to do is put that on there, and like here where I've actually got a gap, I'm going to move the rim over till it's right, and just move round and do it in all 4 places. You could do it in 8ths as well if you want. But if you have this the same distance from the rim in 4 places, then the whole rim must be the same distance from that edge, and therefore it must be running true. So let's get our little spoke key, spoke spanner, whatever you want to call it. You can get little torque ones. They're like a little beam torque wrench, and you can set the spokes to exactly the right tension, but we will use the good old-fashioned method of ringing them. As you'll hear them now, they're not in tension, but, excuse me, if we take the front wheel, which I've already done, they ring. There we go. So let's see. Let's try point number 3. Point number 3 is fractionally this way. So at this point, because we don't have any tension in these spokes, we can just tighten them up just a little. A couple of spokes at the point where you're measuring. And that's about right at number 3. Oh, number 4, we're a good 1/8 of an inch to come this way. So this time we're going to tighten a couple of spokes on this side so that we're pulling them over here. What I'm going to do is 3 spokes, basically one at the point I'm measuring and one either side. And you can see this one here is, now I've started to move it, I can actually tighten that one up a bit more with my fingers. So let's try number 4 again. Actually, we came over a fraction too much. So we'll just slacken them off. There's number 4 pretty close. So now we'll come round to number 1. Number 1 wants to go that way because we had a gap at the edge here. So we're going to tighten some spokes. And as you can see, that one is really loose, so we'll tighten on that side. This one wants to go over. If you find you've got the spokes tight and you can't get the rim true, what you should do, there's number 4, what you should do is slacken them off really and start again, because it's one of these things that just gets worse and worse. You'll find you're tightening and tightening, and soon you've got spokes that are absolutely strung out and you can't make the rim move anymore. It's a lot easier to just slacken off a bit and try again. This one also wants moving to the left. Wheel truing may be clever, but it's very boring. So what I'll probably do is work on this and then speed the film up. So I won't say any more, otherwise I'll sound like Donald Duck. Now I've got basically the same offset in all 4 paces. So all I'm going to do now is just, and here, you know, it's up to how sensitive your fingers are, I'm just going to go around and tighten them all to basically the same tightness, and then I'll check it again, because, you know, it's difficult to get it exactly the same on every spoke. So we'll start at number 2. It's already that tight. That one, you see. If you remember when we were talking about wheels, I said you could build a wheel with only 4 spokes. In effect, what we've done is that we've trued it up on 4 spokes, slightly more than 4, and now we're setting all the rest of them just to the same tension so that they're not pulling the rim any further out than the 4 that we've lined up are. We're not finished, but if you remember how much it wobbled when we started, let me just check that you can see. I'll zoom you in a bit, shall I? That, as you can see, is a lot better. In fact, it's almost there. I hope I wasn't too far away then when you were watching. So let's see, what have we got here? Why don't we start at number 1? Number 1 is right. Number 2 is right. Number 3 wants a very little bit to the other side. A little bit more. Now I'm not slackening the spokes on this side because at the moment nothing's too tight. So we don't have to worry about giving a little bit of slack on one side to pull it over. There's enough slack in it still to just be able to pull it to one side. There we go, that's nice on number 3. And it wants to go over a little still on number 4. Still a little bit. There we go. Well, that looks very nice. See if you can see. So what we'll do now, see how it looks. Well, apparently I've just spent the last 10 minutes talking to myself because for some reason the camera just switched itself off. So what I did do while you weren't watching was I just continued the way I'd shown you how to tighten the spokes up round and round and round. And now we've got to as good as I'm going to get it with this older rim, as you'll see. If you watch the pointer there, you'll see it bouncing, but you'll notice it's only bouncing within about 5 thou. And actually you'll find if you spin it and see that kick there, that's just a little ripple in the edge of the rim itself. You know, it might be a little bump, might be a little gouge, but when you sort of spin it fast, you even those out. And there it is, it's about 5 thou. And for me, for a trials wheel, that's as good as I want it. So that's the True and finished. Last job to do with your rim is to go around, and you'll find occasionally a spoke head will be sticking up proud here, so just take the grinder and take them off. And that's the wheel done. Put your tyre on, put it in the bike, you're all finished. So that's it for wheels. Next video I think is going to be some little bits and pieces on the frame, footrests, petrol tank mounting, stuff like that. So until I see you again, enjoy yourselves.